Assalamu alaikum.
Meet teacher Ms. English. Grade 11, Book English, Unit 1. Responsibilities of Youth. Mr. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen. When I was approached by the Vice Chancellor with a request to deliver the convocation address, I made it clear to him that there were so many calls on me that I could not possibly prepare a formal convocation address on an academic level with regard to the great subject with which university deals, such as arts, history, philosophy, science, law and so on. I did, however, promise to say a few words to the student on this occasion, and it is in fulfillment of that promise that I will address you now. First of all, let me thank the Vice Chancellor for the flattering terms in which he referred to me. Mr. Vice Chancellor, whatever I am, and whatever I have been able to do, I have done it merely as a measure of duty, which is incumbent upon every Mussulman, to serve his people honestly and selflessly. In addressing you, I am not here speaking to you as head of the state, but as a friend, and as one who has always held you in affection. Many of you have today got your diplomas and degrees, and I congratulate you. Just you have won the laurels in your university and qualified yourselves, so I wish you all success in the wider and larger world that you will enter. Many of you have come to the end of your scholastic career and stand at the threshold of life. Unlike your predecessors, you fortunately leave this university to enter life under a sovereign, independent state of your own. It is necessary that you, and your other fellow students, fully understand the implication of the revolutionary change that took place on the birth of Pakistan. We have broken the shackles of slavery, we are now a free people. Our state is our own state, our government is our own government, of the people, responsible to the people of the state, and working for the good of the state freedom. However, it does not mean license. It does not mean that you can now behave just as you please and do what you like, irrespective of the interests of other people or of the state. A great responsibility rests on you, and on the contrary, now more than ever, it is necessary for us to work as a united and disciplined nation. What is now required of us all is constructive spirit, and not the militant spirit of the days when we were fighting for our freedom. It is far most difficult to construct than to have a militant spirit for the attainment of freedom. It is easier to go to jail or fight for freedom than to run a government. Let me tell you something of the difficulties that we have overcome, and of the dangers that still lie ahead. Thwarted in their desire to prevent the establishment of Pakistan, our enemies turned their attention to finding ways and means to weaken and destroy us. Thus, hardly had the new state come into being, when came the Punjab and Delhi Holocaust. Thousands of men, women, and children were mercilessly butchered, and millions were uprooted from their homes. Over 50 lakhs of these arrived in Punjab within a matter of weeks. The care and rehabilitation of these unfortunate refugees, stricken in body and in soul, presented problems which might well have destroyed many a well-established state. But those of our enemies, who had hoped to kill Pakistan at its very inception, by these means were disappointed. Not only has Pakistan survived the shock of that upheaval, but also it has emerged stronger, more chastened, and better equipped than ever. There followed in rapid succession other difficulties, such as withholding by India of our cash balances, of our share of military equipment, and lately, the institution of an almost complete economic blockade of your province. I have no doubt that all right-thinking men in the Indian Dominion deplore these happenings, and I am sure the attitude of the mind that has been responsible for them will change, but it is essential that you should take note of these developments. They stress the importance of continued vigilance on our part. Your main occupation should be, in fairness to yourself, in fairness to your parents, and indeed in fairness to the state, to devote your attention solely to your studies. Only thus can you assist it in solving the great social and economic problems that confront it, and enable it to reach its destined goal, among the most progressive and strongest nations of the world. My young friends, I would, therefore, like to tell you a few points, about which you should be vigilant and beware. Firstly, beware of the fifth columnists among ourselves. Secondly, guard against and weed out selfish people, who only wish to exploit you, so that they may swim. Thirdly, learn to judge who are really true, and really honest, and unselfish servants of the state, who wish to serve the people with heart and soul, and support them. There is another matter that I would like to refer to, my young friends. Hitherto, you have been following the rut. You get your degrees, and when you are thrown out of this university, in thousands, all that you think and hanker for is government service. As your Vice-Chancellor has rightly stated, the main object of the old system of education, and the system of government existing hitherto, was really to have well-trained, well-equipped clerks. Of course some of them went higher, and found their level, but the whole idea was to get well-qualified clerks. Civil service was mainly staffed by the Britons, and the Indian elements were introduced later on, and it went up progressively. Well, the whole principle was to create a mentality, a psychology, and a state of mind that an average man, when he passed his BA or MA, was to look for some job in government. If he had it, he thought, he had reached his height. I know, and you all know, what has been really the result of this. Our experience has shown that an MA earns less than a taxi driver, and most of the so-called government servants are living in a more miserable manner than many menial servants who are employed by well-to-do people. Now I want you to get off that rut and that mentality, and especially now that we are in free Pakistan. Government cannot absorb thousands, impossible. But in the competition to get government service, most of you will be demoralized. Government can take only a certain number, and the rest cannot settle down to anything else, and being disgruntled, are always ready to be exploited by persons who have their own axes to grind. Now I want that you must divert your mind, your attention, your aims, and ambition, to other channels, and other avenues, and fields that are open to you, and will increasingly become so. There is no shame in doing manual work and labor. There is an immense scope in technical education, for we want technically qualified people very badly. You can learn banking, commerce, trade, law, etc., which provides so many opportunities now. Already you find that new industries are being started, new banks, new insurance companies, new commercial firms are opening, and they will grow as you go on. Now these are avenues and fields open to you. Think of them and divert your attention to them. And believe me, you will there benefit yourselves more than by merely going in for government service and remaining there, in what I should say, the circle of clerkship, working there from morning till evening, in most dingy and uncomfortable conditions. You will be far more happy and far more prosperous, with far more opportunities to rise, if you take to commerce and industry, and will thus be helping not only yourselves, but also your state. I can give you one instance. I know a young man who was in government service. 4 years ago, he went into a banking corporation on 200 rupees because he had studied the subject of banking, and today he is a manager in one of their firms and drawing 1,500 rupees a month in just 4 years. These are the opportunities to have. And I do impress upon you now to think in these terms.
If we want to make this great state of Pakistan happy and prosperous, we must concentrate wholly and solely on the well-being of the people. You are free to go to your mosques, free to go to your temples, or to any other place of worship in the state of Pakistan. My guiding principle will be justice and fair play, without any prejudice or ill will, without any partiality or favoritism. We must root out the poison of corruption and nepotism. Our inspiration will be the golden principles of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. And I know that with your support and cooperation, I can look forward to the day when Pakistan becomes one of the greatest nations of the world.